everyone, and welcome to Mind2Mind. I'm Tiffani Neilson, and with me is my co host, Dr. Joseph Perez. How are you doing today, Dr. Joe?
Hello, Tiffany. I'm doing great, thanks. Loving life and raring to go. Thank you. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And
Great.
I'm excited to talk today about the different foods that are going to power our brains even better. So that's an exciting topic. But before we jump into that, Dr. Joe, why don't you tell us some of the interesting things that you've been up to and any updates that you have?
Sure thing, Tiffany. So I just got back from Scotland, laddie, or lassie, because I'm talking to a lass. I should call you a lassie. Yeah, I spoke at the Scottish Summit in Glasgow, excuse me. Got to say it right. Working on my brogue. It's still terrible, but I tried it on a little bit during my speech. But no, I had a great time. It was a rather short trip, but that's okay. Enjoyed it thoroughly. Got to speak. Got to meet some amazing individuals there at the Scottish Summit. There was this one gentleman who drove all the way from Edinburgh. That's over an hour. When he found out I was speaking, he made plans, shifted things around, and came just to hear me speak, which I thought was amazing. I don't think anybody's ever done that besides my wife or something, But I mean, not really a stranger. He's one of my followers, a wonderful guy. But yeah, that was a real morale booster. Um, and then in 3 weeks, my wife and I are flying to Germany, where I will be giving the closing keynote at Developer Week. I can't even, I don't even have the name of the conference correct. Developer Week in Nuremberg. So that's going to be an amazing time. We'll get to spend a few days in Germany, enjoying the sights and having a great time, getting to meet some wonderful people and you know. Uh, Again, another opportunity to love life, another opportunity to see another part of the world. It'll be my third trip across the pond in as many months. So very very excited about the things that are coming up. How about you, Tiffany? What's going on with you?
Well, first of all, Mazel Tov and happy anniversary, Dr. Joe. A little bird had told me that it happens to be your anniversary. So,
Yes,
very
ma'am.
happy anniversary, I wish to you and your wife.
Thank you. Thank you. It's our 38th. I married her when she was 3 years old. So, no, no.
Oh, of course. You're so
Of
youthful.
course. Right. Yeah.
We're married. But no, as for me, we've definitely had some excitement here. We spoke last week at the Embedded Technology Convention, and that was fantastic. Our CEO and founder of IoT Marketing, Johannes Beekman, joined me for the panel, which was exciting. And we also had David Knight from Turbine, and we spoke about embedded systems. So very complex, and talking about how all these just different systems are going to be working together to provide solutions such as autonomous driving. So very complex there. I also am participating with an opportunity with Blue Jeans by Verizon that's exciting. And we have an upcoming webinar, Connected Food, that aligns pretty nicely with this topic. And we even have Walmart participating. So, very exciting things happening there. And let's jump into the topic, though, Dr. Joe. And the first topic I want to
Absolutely.
bring up is, did you know that all of the nutrients that are in the soil are being, well, not all of them, but some of them are being depleted?
Mm. That is um, that is a fascinating thing. It's it's my understanding that's what's going on. The soil depletion business. It's no joke. There was a massive research study. It was in the early 2000s, I believe, and the University of Texas put it together. This was in conjunction with the USDA, and it was for, if I remember correctly, it was crops grown in the U.S. over the previous 50 years or so. Now, they found some significant declines in nutrients. I believe it was calcium, iron, protein, vitamin C, and others. Some were as high as 30% or more. And this was over the last half of the 20th century, is what they were looking at. Now, when you put that together with the fact that scientists tell us it takes 1,000 years to generate just 3 centimeters of quality topsoil. Well, that's some pretty scary stuff. Um, and then there was this other USDA survey. It found that something like 37% of Americans are still deficient in vitamin C. I mean, yeah, that's the most basic thing, right? You get that from orange juice. You'd think it wasn't a deficiency. But what's even worse than that, a whopping 75%, that's 3 out of every 4, don't get enough zinc. So, yeah, Tiffany, it's definitely an issue.
Thank you, Dr. Joe. And I have to say that this topic is pretty important because we are what we eat, right? Or are we? What are your thoughts on this, Dr. Joe? Are we what we eat?
Well, yeah, yeah. I like hamburgers. I love hamburgers. I mean, I eat hamburgers. But you know what? I never really considered myself to be a hamburger. I mean, I can tell you one thing, I'm definitely a ham. You already knew that, okay? But not maybe not a hamburger. A ham, yes, hamburger, no. But all right, no, seriously. About that, Tiffany. In a matter of speaking, I think we kind of are what we eat, you know? Okay, you want to be healthy, right? Then, well, eat healthy foods. You want to have awful junky health? Then eat awful junk food, right? Okay, unhealthy food and an unhealthy lifestyle do go hand in hand. And by the same token, eating the right foods with good healthy lifestyle. Okay, ancient Greek physician Hippocrates once said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." Right? I love it. You know, I think this man, I think he hit the nail on the head because taking responsibility for the things that we eat and having an understanding of what food does to our bodies, both the good and the bad, well, that's going to bring us to a greater awareness of the steps that we can take towards more healthy living, right? I mean, it's all about making the right choices, taking personal responsibility. So yeah, in that broad sense of the word or the term, I absolutely totally believe that we are what we eat. What's your take on this, Tiffany?
Well, while I think that it does impact significantly how we respond to food, what we eat,
Hmm.
I don't think that just because maybe someone eats a lot of pizza that they're going to turn into a pizza. But
Right.
I definitely think that, an all pizza diet would definitely impact your health in different ways, as well as your ability to think, because you're not getting all of the nutrients that you need from having a variety of foods and a well balanced meal diet. And Dr. Joe, are there certain foods that you can think of that maybe immediately just make you feel better? What would those be?
Sure. Oh yeah. Let's face it. Uh, Food doesn't feel. Who doesn't feel better after eating chocolate? Right. I do. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing. That does it for me for sure. How about a nice scoop of vanilla ice cream? On a hot day, or a bowl of soup with a grilled cheese sandwich on a cold day. How about roasted marshmallows around a campfire on a stick, right? Who doesn't like that? Who doesn't get comforted by that? There's a reason why these things are called comfort foods, okay? And you know what? They don't always have to be synonymous with unhealthy foods. You think of it that way, but it's not that way. I don't want to contradict what I was saying a few minutes ago about eating right, okay? The Oxford Dictionary tells us that comfort food is any food that provides consolation or a feeling of well being. Um, and I suppose that's what it means to be comforted, right? You want to feel good, you want to feel comfort, so you eat food that brings you to that mindset. Okay, from an early age in our American culture, I suppose other cultures in other places of the world might be similar. Um, some of us, maybe not all, I don't know, maybe most of us, whatever. We are behaviorally conditioned to associate food with happiness, right? I mean, when a little child, for instance, gets rewarded with, say, a little piece of candy for good behavior, well, they're going to make a mental association of that. That picture's going to stay in their head, right? Now, of course, I'm not condemning parents who, ever gave your child a cookie for doing something right. You're evil. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just explaining that's a contributing factor as to why we do the things that we do as adults. Is that mental association? That the brain associates something that tastes good with a pleasant memory of what happened when you got that thing that tastes good, when you were a little kid or whatever. And when that happens, scientists tell us that you get a rush of dopamine. And dopamine, as you already know, is a neurotransmitter that is all about reward and pleasure, okay? Um, and again, when it comes to comfort food, it's not really so much about the specific chemical ingredients in the foods themselves that inherently make us happen. The tryptophan in turkey makes you sleepy, and we all know that has been debunked as being a myth, okay? So, it's not necessarily any specific chemical ingredient of the food itself or their, composition or whatever you want to say it, but rather it's the mental picture that forms in our psyche when we eat these foods. Okay, now, for my family, one of our biggest examples of comfort food is when we have what we call breakfast for supper. We'll typically have this on either a Monday or a Tuesday nights. Probably more often on Tuesdays, I'd say. Okay, rather than Taco Tuesday. But in our case, it is a rather quick and easy meal to fix. It tastes great. It makes us feel good as it should. That's comfort food, right? We're relaxing together as a family. That's comforting. We're getting quality time together. That's comforting. And, on top of all that, it's, I don't know, at least somewhat healthy. I mean, who can argue with scrambled eggs, low sodium bacon, and a biscuit? Okay. Yeah, maybe we can do without the biscuit. Okay, whatever. But I don't know. I suppose maybe I can do some extra crunches that night to make up for that biscuit that I had to eat, right? But, what is not a full meal, though, there are a couple of other things that I look at as comfort food that immediately give me a good feeling. Things like bananas. I love bananas. I love to eat apples. I love grapes. And for that matter, if I can get away with it, I'm always down for a good mess of beans. Green beans. If it were up to me, I'd have green beans with every meal. Well, that's how I see it anyway. How do you see it, Tiffany?
Well, being from the Midwest and Ohio in
Yeah.
particular, I definitely agree with your comfort food and
Right.
anything from soup or anything made with love. And maybe that's
Oh,
because, people that are cooking that you have an emotional bond with or that care about you, if they're making it for you, you can almost taste the fact that they've put that love and extra attention into the food. And it just makes a difference. If you're in a hurry and you throw something in the microwave, it doesn't have quite that taste and quality and that taste of home that something that was
right.
prepared by someone that you know that cares about you tastes like. And it's strange, but it's true. And I also find that fruits, vegetables, and especially water definitely is something that will make anyone think better. And I've even
Hmm.
found that, when I haven't had enough water, it's the few times that I do get a headache. And so, having enough water, I think, is super essential to having your best brain productivity. And who could forget coffee? I mean, come on, it's coffee. And I did do a little research here and I found a list of different foods that can not only boost your brain power, but also your memory. And those are
Hmm.
fatty fish, coffee, blueberries, turmeric, broccoli, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, nuts, leafy greens, and avocados. Sardines and mussels were also on some other lists, but those are the main ones that I was going to highlight. And so, Dr. Joe, do you eat on a schedule or when you're hungry or a mix of both?
Huh. That's an excellent question. And, since I'm a technical guy, and you've heard me say this before, you know what's coming, right? Yeah. I'm going to answer an either or question with these two words. It depends, right? And a little bit of both, in other words. Okay. And that's not really a cop out. It might look like one, but I don't think it's a cop out. It's the truth. Okay. It really does depend. I mean, uh, I can't really answer it one way or the other. Let me explain what I mean by that before I look like a total idiot or something. Um, I I tend to eat on a schedule. All right. I like to eat an early breakfast, especially when I have to be at work early in the morning. Even if I sleep in for the day, if I'm not at work, the very first thing I want to do when I get up is quickly eat breakfast, even before my shower, as quickly as I can. Okay, um, that that's a meal that I never skip. Breakfast, that is. I sometimes might have a tendency to skip lunch. If I'm tied up with my work during the day, I probably shouldn't do it, but I do. I don't take a break. I just keep on going, especially if I'm working from home and I get caught up with what's going on. So, yeah, quite often I do without lunch during the week, but absolutely, I can never ever do without breakfast. That's a non-negotiable for me. Okay, there's an obvious reason why it's called breakfast, and you already know this. Right? You're breaking your fast. Break fast. Right? We're told that that's actually the etymology of the word. That's where it came in. Because it was describing what you're doing. You are, after you haven't eaten for a while, however long you've slept, however long it had been since supper or dinner, whatever the previous night, you now get up in the morning. You have been fasting, if you will, since your supper time the night before. And now you are very simply breaking your fast. Everybody knows that. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Now, I believe that eating on a schedule is a good thing when you can, because I suppose it keeps you from waiting until it's too terribly late at night before you eat your evening meal, or it keeps you from going all the way to the point right before you go to bed, and that's when you eat, and then you go to sleep within the next 5, 10 minutes. And I understand that's not healthy to eat a big meal right before you go to bed rather. A study conducted by the Cleveland Clinic a few years ago revealed that when people eat late at night, they are actually going against their body's circadian rhythm. It's all about how our bodies typically adjust our insulin sensitivity at different times during the day. We are more sensitive to insulin in the morning, for instance, so that whatever we do eat, then can more easily be converted to fuel our bodies and get us through the day. By contrast, we're a bit less sensitive to insulin at night. And that helps us to wind down so we can get to sleep. That's what we're supposed to do. We need to sleep, we need to rest. And so, therefore, we don't need the energy to fuel us. We need to be calmed down. So, as a result, if and when you eat late at night, the extra calories from that midnight snack that you just had to have are not going to get converted to energy like they would if you're eating those calories in the morning when you're supposed to. But rather at night, those calories are going to be stored up as fat while you sleep rather than being burned as energy during the day. Now, when you avoid eating just before bedtime, you also avoid possible issues with indigestion. If your body is trying to digest your food while you're also trying to sleep, yeah, especially if you're in a, horizontal position, right? That's not very conducive for food to be going down the digestive tract effortlessly as it do when it's assisted by gravity. Okay. And if that happens, especially if you happen to be prone to acid reflux and that sort of thing, well, then you're typically not going to get as good of a night's sleep as I'm sure you would like to otherwise have, as you're supposed to have, than you would if you were eating at a more sensible time. So anyway, that's my opinion. A little bit of both. What do you think, Tiffany?
Well, I would agree with you that breakfast is probably my most important meal of the day, as for most people, because it really just sets the standard and it sets your energy level. So, definitely getting a good breakfast in is very important. But I also like
Yeah.
to kind of space out my meals during the day and have more snacks than a solid meal for lunch, because it's been proven that if you have smaller amounts of food throughout the day, that it's actually going to increase your energy, increase your productivity, and then usually a pretty decent sized dinner. So two larger dinners and some snacks along the day, that usually works pretty well for me. And I just try to avoid, when I get hangry. Because when, the anger takes over because
Yes,
you're too hungry and you just get to
right.
hanger, that's no good. Then nothing's going to come out of it. So I just try to avoid that at all costs. And then I'm pretty good.
Good
But
for you.
next, do you feel that the eating process is automatic, Dr. Joe, or and you're just, food, eat? Or are you actually taking time to think while you're eating and as you're, chewing and tasting the food, do you actually think about it as you're eating? What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. Yeah. Yes, indeed. I channel my inner wolf dog where I am exceptionally hungry or hangry. Right. Eat. Devour. Yeah. No, 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 no. No, seriously. You know, um, I think I'll answer that question once again with my same typical tech guy way of answering things. It depends, right? There I go again, Joe. Yeah. So, okay. If how am I going to say this? Okay, if I'm settled into a routine, all right, say it's supper, right, and I'm in the middle of a conversation with my wife, then no, my concentration is on her, whatever we're talking about, the conversation itself. And in that case, eating is like a background activity that I'm not actually really actively thinking about. But if it's a situation where my wife has tried a new recipe and she says, "Hey, I want you to tell me what you think about this," right? She's changed up the way she's doing the spaghetti, or we've tried a new way of fixing chicken, or whatever. Then, yeah, I am going to sit there and concentrate like crazy on what I'm eating to make sure, okay, you know what? I love the texture of this. Ooh, this is great. Okay. Oh, you used cheese with that. Oh, you used provolone instead of mozzarella, right? Or you used a white sauce instead of a red sauce with this thing. Dried tomatoes instead of regular tomatoes, pesto instead of garlic, right? That sort of thing. Then yeah, I'm going to think about it more. But then there's a flip side of that. Say I'm watching a movie and eating popcorn at the same time. Okay, now at that point, it is absolutely a mindless automatic thing to like pass the time while I'm being entertained by the movie. And, that's probably the most unhealthy thing I've ever done, the most unhealthy thing I've ever said, right? Because I think one of those large tubs of popcorn is like what, 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories or some ungodly crazy thing like that. How many crunches would it take for me to make up for that big mess of calories, right? But, even when I'm, say, mindlessly eating popcorn, okay, after a while, I think I would like to think I have the good sense to make my conscious brain take control so that I know when to quit. And I do quit. It's not a totally mindless thing. That's a conscious decision that I make, right? That's thinking before I continue to eat, right? I look at that piece of candy and I say, that's a good piece of candy. Should I eat it now or should I wait till later? I'm going to consciously say no. I'm going to deny myself for now. Maybe have it later. I don't want to go back and gain a bunch of weight. See, for me, several years ago, I was in a pretty unhealthy place in my life. I mean, I wasn't depressed or anything, but I'd gained a bunch of weight. My doctor had challenged me to lose 30 pounds. All right. You get much more healthy for me to lose the weight than to continue to gain weight because, well, Joe, you want to avoid obesity. So that kind of got my attention. I actually ended up losing more than 40 pounds, close to 45 pounds I lost. It was neat. Quite an effort. My pants had to be resized. I got healthy. I got in shape. I went to the gym, started eating right, eating smaller portions, cutting out soda, and over the years since it's been about 8 or 9 years since then, and I've actually kept most of the weight off all these years, so I'm very pleased at that. So, if I want to stay, here's my point: if I want to stay healthy and not bloat up like a big fat balloon or something and not fit my clothes, right? I definitely need to make sure my brain is in gear before my mouth is in motion, right? Um, so that I can be aware of what I'm doing, what I'm eating. Um, and so I will know when to quit. So, yeah, sometimes it's automatic. Most of the time, if you want to stay healthy, You better make sure that your brain knows when to take charge so that you know when to quit. And if your loved one has made you something special, don't make it a mindless thing then either. Be very much aware of the textures and be very much ready to compliment your loved one on how well they did on the new recipe that they tried on you. What's your take on this, Tiffany?
Well, I think one thing is sometimes I think that everyone's in such a hurry these days that they just eat so fast they forget to think. And so I
Right.
think slowing down as you're eating so that you're actually getting more of the nutrients because you're chewing more, you're able to taste it more. I think it's more enjoyable if you slow down. And I also think that if you're not distracted, as you mentioned, you're definitely going to think more about the whole process of eating. And, by
Right.
disconnecting from the TV and focusing on food. That definitely helps you actually think about the food, enjoy your company that you're with.
Hmm.
And, when you're connected to the TV, it's really hard for you to also connect with food, just like your popcorn example. I think that's a great one.
Right.
It's so easy to just toss on that extra butter at the movie theater. I mean, it's right there. And who doesn't love butter? I mean, really. But
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
when you actually stop and think about it, you're actually able to taste the nutrients even a little bit more when you stop and slow down a little. So I
And you
definitely
tend to
think that.
eat less, right?
Yes,
When you think about it, you tend to eat less and not go, 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 when you're mindlessly shoveling it in, right?
definitely. And I really enjoy food. I enjoy trying new food. I enjoy the whole
Yeah.
process. And, even just stopping and pausing as you're about to take a bite and you smell first changes the whole game because usually it's a different experience than if you just fork it on in,
Yeah.
it's definitely a different experience. And being that
Absolutely.
I'm such a fan of food, in 2 weeks, we're going to be covering the Connected Food webinar on June 30th.
Yay.
Everyone should attend. But as I'm doing this research, it's a little discerning and I've got some concerns, let alone being frightened over the fact that there is food shortages left and right for my research. And
Mm.
I like food, Dr. Joe. I mean, a food
Hmm.
crisis and a food shortage, it can be pretty scary. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Joe?
Yeah, absolutely, Tiffany. That is quite scary. uh, you know, it's it's scary. Well, not just scary. It's scary and also sad. I mean, to see these food shortages in various places all over the world. Um, to me, it's especially disturbing, Tiffany, to know that there are actually places in our own country, our own United States of America, the land of abundance and blessing, as we would normally see it, has people who are just simply not getting enough to eat. There's this phenomenon that sociologists and people in the health and human services space are paying more and more attention to now in recent years, and that's the existence of what they call food deserts. I've seen this on the news a number of times. Okay, a food desert, simply put, the way they define it, it's an area that lacks access to affordable food that would make up the full range of one's healthy diet. All right, so you might have, say, a couple of square miles, for instance, without a supermarket or a grocery store in it, some distance, some space. It's an arbitrary thing. There's no set, amount of space to it. Maybe people that live within that space are of a lower level of income. Maybe they don't have their own vehicle, or maybe public transportation isn't as readily available in that neighborhood or locale, right? I mean, put it together, it's a perfect storm, the combination of all those factors. That's what a food desert is, okay? However many square miles it is, no supermarket, no grocery store. However, here's a twist: there might be a convenience store. There might be like a Quick Mart or something like that in that very same area instead of your conventional grocery store. Those places, the Quick Marts and that kind of thing, convenience store, tend to sell food that's maybe a little bit less than healthy, perhaps sometimes at prices that are typically a little bit higher than the normal grocery store. So the combination thereof, people can't get to it or can't get to the regular grocery stores as conveniently. It would be more expensive for them to try to get to places where they can get healthier food because it's not within that radius. So instead, they're going to save money and go to the convenience store, the Quick Mart, or whatever instead, and load up on the junk food, which isn't quite so healthy. When you put all that together, that's the food desert that they're talking about. I mean, I wish I had an answer for the issue, um, but I don't know. Maybe a change in some of those zoning ordinances or municipal tax structures could be adjusted in some of these cities. And maybe that'll give some of these grocery chains or supermarket chains more of an incentive to put more stores in those geographic areas. But yeah, I agree with you 100%, Tiffany. That is definitely a concern.
And to speak about your food deserts, as you call them, a part of that is the soil nutrient density and
Yes,
the fact that it's unable to grow. And so there's regenerative farming that's an option. There's also indoor farming that's an option for places where maybe they can't grow food in the soil. And we're going to talk
right.
about that more in the upcoming webinar. But just the availability of how many different foods from all over the world we have right now is really just astounding if you just take a step back and think how available all of these different foods are. I mean, it could be out of season and the foods are still available on the shelves. And so I think that we're very fortunate for that at this point in time. And we really need to start taking some preventative measures to ensure that it's like that for generations to come. And
Exactly.
more studies are showing that eating greens and plant based foods can be beneficial to not only our health, our brain power, but the environment. And it can also increase your life expectancy. And I know that this is great and all, and alternative proteins, that sounds amazing. But the insect diet, that's one thing that I just can't get over. I just could not imagine eating an insect burger and enjoying it, even if it did
Right.
give me extra nutrients, extra brain power. What are your thoughts, Dr. Joe? Are you ready for an insect burger or are you going to stick with your hamburgers?
Um, I'm with you 100% on that one. Bah! I don't think I can ever bring myself to eat seaweed chips or beetle burgers or, I mean, maybe chocolate covered ants or whatever. But, if they could make something like those, the plant based and whatever, taste like the real thing and still be nutritious, yeah, I'd go for it. But, with that said, there is actually a team of scientists in where is it? In Silicon Valley, who poured a ton of research over a 5.5, 6 year period of time to figure out why it is that cooked meat tastes so good. Well, they got an idea from it. Okay, their objective was to somehow replicate the texture, the way it tastes, and what one researcher, I think he called it the sizzle of real beef. Okay, without using real beef. Okay, the ingredients, as you said, are all plant based. Now, some people, myself included, uh, aren't too crazy about these, to me, nasty tasting bean patties or whatever. I don't want to insult anybody. Some people like it. Okay, okay, but as for me, like, I don't like the taste of those bean patties. But anyway, before I get uh, whatever, the researchers formed a startup company called Impossible Foods in 2011, and they were successful by 2016 by creating what they called the Impossible Burger, made from a plant-based ground beef substitute that is supposed to taste like the real thing. Okay, the research uncovered that there is indeed this molecule that exists in all plants, animals, and in plants as well. No difference. They were able to adapt this iron based molecule that makes things taste the way they do. I think it's called like hema or something. It's a derivative. Well, it's what hemoglobin is based on. Okay, they say it tastes like the real thing. I've never tried it myself. Supposedly 1,000 times better than soy burgers. Okay, the company must be doing something right. I mean, they started with next to nothing in 2011, and here it is now. What, 11 years later? And I'm told the company is valued at more than $2 billion. All right. And you don't even have to go to one of these fancy schmancy restaurant, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, okay, to get to eat one of these things. As of July 2020, you can get Impossible Burger patties that you can buy yourself at Walmart, of all places, even Trader Joe's. You can even get them at Burger King. I looked it up on the menu just the other day, and it's called, if I remember correctly, it's called the Impossible Whopper. I have got to try one of those. Like, I haven't tried one, but anyway, the company at one point, they said they worked on plant-based substitutes for chicken, pork, and fish for a while. I think dairy products as well, but they decided to stick with their mainstay. Okay, the ground beef alternative. I guess maybe that's where all the money is. But you know what? If these guys were able to figure things out for beef, and it's as good as they say that it is, well, I'm sure it's not going to be too much longer before other people are going to follow the pattern that these trailblazers have set, and they're going to come up with their own innovations, amazing innovations and ideas of their own. Algae cakes that taste like ice cream. You know, tofu that tastes like a chocolate chip macadamia nut cookie, cockroach chips that taste like Lay's. Ugh. Whatever. People might wrinkle their nose up at it, but you know what? If it tastes right and it can give you the nutritional value you need, and you don't have to plug your nose while you're eating it, and you don't have to envision biting the head off of a cockroach or something gross like that, I wouldn't mind giving it a try. Wouldn't you agree, Tiffany?
I don't know, Dr. Joe. I think just knowing that that is what I'm eating is part of the problem for me. I think
Granted.
if I ate it and I didn't know any better, I would probably just think that someone cooks a little differently than what I've tried in the past. But
Okay.
knowing that
That
that's what
works.
I'm eating is a little bit more uncomfortable for me,
Yeah.
I guess. And perhaps that's why there's new changes to our labels in grocery stores that are going to be rolling out soon, rather
Right.
than say GMO or biologically engineered. It will now say GE, genetically engineered.
There
So
you
if
go.
you want more information, you just go to the QR code and read it. And I mean, I don't know if I want to know at this point what is in some of the food, but for those that
Right.
do want to know, they can use the
Yeah, I
QR.
know.
It's just the
You
challenge
you
with
get
that is
the
that there's still
willies, right?
100 million Americans without access to something that can scan a QR code to actually understand what's
Yeah.
in their food. So those are some of the challenges that I'm seeing. But as more research is done and we're able to really look at our bodies, and whether that's through how our body's performing or our genetics, that we're able to design our diets to be nutritious for how we are composed, I think that that's an interesting trend that's really starting to get explored more and more. What are your thoughts on that, Dr.
Oh,
Joe?
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. Here's how I see it. Ugh, 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 ugh. I'm okay if I can see my sweet olive oil. Ugh, 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 ugh. Right. I don't know. You think Popeye can do great when he's eating spinach. But uh, genetically engineered spinach, genetically engineered personalized diets, they are entirely possible. Scientists sell, I mean, you can get designer genes, so why not get designer food, right? Research conducted by the Mayo Clinic on several hundred volunteers, I believe it was in 2019, showed that a personalized engineered diet based on your own microbiome, I think they call it, or your genetics, your age, your activity level, and so on, is a much better way to control, say, your blood glucose levels than by cutting carbs and calories arbitrarily. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if, say, within the next 10 years, that a whole industry of personalized dietary planners would emerge with claims of amazing results from adopting their methodologies and strategies. Instead of, I don't know, 23andMe, you spit into an envelope, right, or a cup or whatever, and send it off to them, and they tell you all about your DNA profile and analysis and so on. You might spit into an envelope, send it to them, and they'll send you your very own personalized, customized, homogenized, realized diet. Okay, I don't know. Is it too good to be true? Well, only time will tell, Tiffany.
Very true, Dr. Joe. Only time will tell. And
Yep.
my final piece of food for thought that I wanted to bring up is about food allergies, because having food
Mm.
allergies must really bite.
But don't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw what you did right there. Yeah.
But Food allergies are serious, and there's a lot of people that struggle to find foods that do work for their
Yeah.
bodies. And so, knowing what doesn't work for your brain, what doesn't work for your body is equally as important to finding what's right. And it's
Hmm.
like that with, knowing right from wrong. It all goes back to these different
Right.
mindsets. But when you put yourself in a mindset that these don't work as well for me, like if I'm getting ready to do some kind of performance on stage, a speaking event or something, I'm definitely not going to go have turkey for lunch because turkey makes you tired. And so you just have to really think
Right.
about it. And it goes back to thinking before you eat. But what are your thoughts on that, Dr. Joe?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You know, I I myself am allergic to iodine. No kidding. Of all things, iodine, I can't eat shellfish, including, shrimp, crab, all the things I really do like, but I can't eat. The reaction I have towards it, it's similar to the reaction people have when they're stung by a bee, like an anaphylactic type reaction. My throat closes up, I get nauseated. Uh, not a happy place to be. Okay, different people are allergic to different things, right? And they're affected in different ways. Some mild, some severe. Okay, take peanut allergies, for instance, right? Peanut allergies among children have tripled between 1997 and 2008, according to a recent study. And the reactions and effects, again, range from mild to severe, something as simple as a runny nose to itching to stomach cramps to redness or swelling of the skin or the mouth, whatever, shortness of breath, and more. Some effects are more debilitating than others. But whatever the case, here's the whole point. Just like you said, whether it's seafood or peanuts, whether it's eggs or iodine, whether it's dairy products or anything else, always be aware of your surroundings. I love the way you said that, to be mindful, to know your body, to know how different types of food and ingredients affect you, just like you said. You'll be better off in the long run if you do it. Here's a fun fact. I wear an ID armband right here that identifies my iodine allergy in case something happens to me and my wife isn't around to tell everybody that I'm allergic to iodine. It says so right here on my thing. I strongly recommend, if you have an allergy, getting one of these types of ID bands so that people will know about it, Tiffany.
Well, thank you so much for that advice, Dr. Joe. I think that wearables are definitely going to be increasingly valuable as we find new uses for them. And I know it's big for
Right.
people with diabetes, but it's interesting to hear that you even have one customized for iodine. So just think about what the
Yep.
future could hold as far as being able to tell you that you need more sugar or more coffee or more of what water, whatever it might be. But I think that wraps up things for today. So be sure to tune back in next month as we explore the topic of right mind. And so tune in for that. And to you and all the dads out there, happy Father's Day.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, and happy anniversary to my sweet wife, Diana, when she hears this or watches this later on.
Also, happy anniversary to my parents. They're celebrating 40 years
Yes.
soon. So on Saturday. So happy anniversary to my mom and dad. And again, happy anniversary to you, Dr. Joe.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. That's very sweet of you to say, and we're going to enjoy a nice dinner tonight.
I hope everyone does. Have a
Yep.
wonderful day, everyone, and we'll see you at Connected Food on June 30th. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.